Hey friends, so time for a very real and honest moment with Vanjie. So in the past few years, I've gained between 20 to 30 pounds. I know in large part it's due to the amount of stress that I have been coping with since the diagnosis of my daughter and epilepsy. And it's been very frustrating to me to work on having healthy habits, but also watching that weight go up, and not from lack of trying. I have spent many times kind of resetting myself, applying the things that I coach to my clients, and it's hard because I can see myself grappling with trying to gain control. I can see the times where I extend grace to myself and I'm like, okay, you're just gonna have to reset tomorrow. We start again. And then I can see those times where I'm just so fed up and it feels like clothes don't fit. And I'm just like, that's it. We're going to go strict right here. And I see myself kind of just like swinging from side to side on the pendulum, right? And so again, this is like the hardest stuff for me to coach because I live it. I experience it personally, right alongside of you. Weight has always been something that I have struggled with my whole life, and wanting to have a healthy relationship with food and with movement. I work in an industry where I am not considered a small person. And it's sometimes really hard to not feel comfortable in your own skin, not to not feel confident in the clothes that you put on, right? And so I get that, and I know where people are coming from because I have experienced that myself. I was chatting with a few different individuals in the past week as I've had coaching sessions and talking about kind of around this. We know that when we're trying to lose weight, one of the most effective ways to do that is to track our food. So how do we track our food? Do we just write down? Do we do macro tracking where we track calories and protein and carbohydrates and fats? Do we take pictures? There's a lot of different ways we can track food. What is the most effective? What is the most helpful? And it depends on a lot of things. It really does. I have seen macro tracking being incredibly helpful to particularly individuals who really like numbers, who want that very specific, like, set the target, track your food, black and white, close the loop, hit the target, boom, you get a big dopamine hit. You're like, boom, I'm in control. I did the thing. Let's move on. I've also then seen people be incredibly successful by never tracking a single macro. Like, I'm telling you, like dropping 10 pounds within 5 weeks or 4 weeks because they just took pictures of their food and they got on board with balanced plate and proper portion control. I've seen it be effective in both streams, like incredibly effective. Sometimes people, when they feel like they're really grasping for control, it is easier to go towards macro tracking because it closes that loop of control. It is a very specific, hit this target, meet it, boom, check it off, completion. With balance plate and portion control, it's a little harder because you can still be very accurate. You can be very precise still. But you're having to work towards building confidence in your choices. You're having to build a little bit more flexibility into what you're doing. You're having to like make peace with your plate, right? There's a lot more mindful eating that comes along into it. And so sustainability wise, I want to try and get all my clients to that so that no one feels like they have to weigh anything to be effective and to make that completion happen. I've been working with a few individuals lately who have been very frustrated with macro tracking, feeling very restricted, feeling like certain foods are off limits because they have too much fat with them or the carbohydrates are too high. And that is one of the dangers of macro tracking, is that we can become obsessive about the numbers and forget about nutrition. You can, and actually I just today have wrestled through writing a new blog. I put down 3 examples, all the exact same caloric intake, or pretty close, give or take, a few grams, So same macro targets, 1,500 calories, 30% protein, 40% carbs, 20% fat. And it gives you an example of hitting those targets with all whole food, nutrient dense choices. It gives you a second choice of processed but balanced. So some more whole foods, but some more balanced. And then it gives you a third one of like a fast food, more highly ultra processed kind of version. All three hit that macro target, but all three do not account for fiber, hydration, nutritional content, right? And so your satiation is different versus like option 1, 2, or 3. How full you feel, the sodium intake is different, the fiber intake is different, the convenience level is different, the protein quality is different. So the overall health impact is drastically different. So although we hit the target and we met those macro goals, this is one of the reasons why that when people do diet challenges, generally it includes macro tracking. This is one of the reasons why that when they stop, everything falls apart and they usually end up gaining weight back, and sometimes more than what they even started with. And this is why you create that diet yo-yo, because when it comes to weight loss, it's not about just creating a calorie deficit and losing 20 pounds. You have to change your habits. If anything we do wants to be sustainable, we have to address the habits. Now, how we start to do that can look different for every single individual. So for instance, tracking our food, we know that's an effective practice to lose weight. You can absolutely track your macros. If that feedback loop and those numbers make sense to you, fantastic. But you have to understand that you have to be able to apply those same principles of working towards proper balance between protein, carbohydrates, and fat, and eating in a variety of whole foods. We have to be able to translate that to real life as well. And we have to carry that over, because, if someone could come to me, well, Vanjie, I ate 5 cookies today, but I still hit my macro targets, right? Like, that is a problem. We have to address the challenges of the fact, well, why did you eat 5 cookies? How often are we eating 5 cookies? And how could we better cope with the behavior of eating 5 cookies, right? And so that macro style, unfortunately, does not give that feedback. It still actually reinforces that you are still meeting the goal, and it doesn't reinforce the lack of coping mechanisms for habit change. I feel like I'm starting to ramble. I hope I'm not rambling. Okay. So again, weight follows behavior. Okay. Not willpower. Okay. So whether you choose to track macros, whether you choose to just work towards a balanced plate, portion control, hand portion control, however you want to write down your food, however you want to track your food, ultimately, if the weight loss is going to be sustainable, we have to address the habits that initially caused us to gain the weight. That's hard work. Oh, that's like mucky work. That's like uncomfortable work, and it takes time. If you want a quick fix, if you want to drop some weight, yeah, we can do that, no problem. But if you want to lose some weight and make it stay off, that's going to take a little bit more work. That's going to take a little bit more dedication and discipline and experimenting and figuring out what works for you and what is sustainable. Okay. It's going to potentially be uncomfortable, because you're going to have to dig into what are the behavioral patterns that are causing dysfunctional eating? What are the behavioral patterns that are causing dysfunctional follow through? Right? Why are you not able to get up and work out? Why are you not able to get moving? Are you so maxed out? Like, what areas of your health, maybe it's your physical health, your mental health, your emotional health, what schedules do you need in place? What environment do you need to change, right? What habits need to change to create sustainable weight loss for you? I think that's it. That was like a little debrief. I've really wrestled through this blog, because I'm like, I want it to be helpful, but not come across as critical. I am not against macro tracking at all. It has proven very helpful to many people. but I want people to understand macro tracking has to happen in tandem with working on noticing patterns. And okay, so you ate those 5 cookies, they fit into your macros, but we got to notice that pattern. Like for me, you got to notice the pattern of like when I'm PMS, you can be guaranteed there will be cookie eating and chocolate eating. Well, I got to find some different ways to cope with that if I want sustainable change to happen, because that impacts it, right? So that's the kind of change I'm talking about. Again, macro tracking is not evil. It is not bad, but we can hit some serious roadblocks there because it doesn't always point out the same way the habit change or the behavioral patterns that we need to notice. All right, there's my tips. You can leave comments, jokes, feedback. This is a conversation. It's not like this is just me sharing like this is, and I struggle with this. Like this is hard, because in my brain I'm like, oh, I just want it to be easy. I just want it to be like done, but it's never easy or done. So we'll keep working on it together.